Every night at exactly 11:30 p.m., the old janitor walked silently through the empty halls of Lincoln High School. Most students never noticed him. Teachers barely remembered his name. To everyone, he was simply the cleaner. An old man pushing a mop bucket through quiet hallways while the world ignored him. His name was Mr. Samuel Carter. He cleaned classrooms, swept floors, collected trash, and every morning before sunrise, he disappeared before students arrived. Nobody knew that after everyone went home. Mr. Carter stayed inside the school for another reason. A reason he kept secret for nearly 15 years. One rainy evening, 17-year-old Ethan remained late at school preparing for final exams. The library had already closed. Most classrooms were dark. As Ethan walked past room 214, he suddenly stopped. Light glowed beneath the classroom door. Confused, he slowly peeked through the small window. And what he saw shocked him. Mr. Carter, the old janitor, sat alone at a student desk wearing reading glasses while solving advanced mathematics problems on the board. Equations covered the chalkboard perfectly. Complex formulas, physics calculations, literature notes. Ethan stared in disbelief. The janitor noticed him immediately. For a second, both froze silently. Then Mr. Carter slowly erased the board. "You should go home," he said calmly. Ethan stepped inside carefully. "How do you know all this stuff?" Mr. Carter stayed quiet for a moment. Then he smiled faintly. "I used to love learning." That answer only made Ethan more curious. The next evening, Ethan secretly returned to the classroom again. Mr. Carter was there once more, studying. This time, books covered the desks around him. History, science, philosophy, education theory. "You're studying to become a teacher?" Ethan asked carefully. Mr. Carter looked down quietly. "No," he replied softly. "I'm studying because I never stopped dreaming." That sentence stayed inside Ethan's mind all night. Over the following weeks, Ethan began visiting Mr. Carter regularly after school. Slowly, the old janitor revealed pieces of his story. Years earlier, Samuel Carter had been one of the brightest students in his town. He loved books more than anything. His teachers believed he would become a professor someday. But life had different plans. At 19 years old, Samuel's father died unexpectedly. Suddenly, Samuel became responsible for his mother and 2 younger sisters. College became impossible. Instead of attending university, Samuel started working multiple jobs to support his family. Factory worker, dishwasher, construction helper. Years passed quickly. Dreams disappeared beneath responsibility. Eventually, Samuel found stable work as a school janitor. At first, he believed it would be temporary. But temporary became permanent. Still, one thing never changed: his love for education. Every night after cleaning classrooms, Samuel secretly studied using old textbooks left behind by students. For 15 years, he taught himself everything he could: mathematics, science, literature, psychology. Learning became his escape from loneliness. One evening, Ethan asked him quietly, "If you love education this much, why didn't you become a teacher?" Samuel smiled sadly. "Sometimes life closes doors before we are ready." Ethan shook his head immediately. "No, I don't believe that." Samuel laughed softly. "You're still young." But Ethan could not stop thinking about the old man's story. At school, students constantly disrespected Mr. Carter. Some left trash intentionally after class. Others mocked him openly. One group of boys even called him Old Mop. Yet every day, Samuel simply smiled politely and continued working. One afternoon, Ethan witnessed a student purposely spill juice across the hallway after Samuel had just finished cleaning. The boys laughed loudly while walking away. Ethan felt angry. But Samuel quietly cleaned the mess again without saying a word. Later that evening, Ethan asked him, "How do you stay calm when people treat you badly?" Samuel continued mopping slowly. "Because bitterness destroys the person carrying it." Then he looked up. "And because most people judge others before understanding their story." Meanwhile, Principal Rebecca Collins struggled with serious problems at Lincoln High School. Student grades were dropping. Teachers kept resigning. The school budget faced major cuts. Stress consumed her daily. One night, while reviewing reports in her office, she noticed lights still glowing from room 214 long after school hours. Thinking a student had stayed behind illegally, she walked toward the classroom. But when she opened the door, she found Samuel teaching Ethan advanced mathematics. The principal froze in shock. Samuel stood immediately, embarrassed. "I'm sorry," he said quickly. "We were just..." But Principal Collins interrupted him. "Where did you learn calculus?" Samuel stayed silent. Ethan answered proudly before he could speak. He taught himself everything. The principal looked stunned. Over the next few days, Principal Collins secretly investigated Samuel's background. What she discovered amazed her. Samuel had completed online university courses quietly over the years, passed teaching certification exams privately, read hundreds of academic books. He possessed more knowledge than many actual teachers at the school. Yet nobody knew. One evening, Principal Collins approached him directly. "Why did you never tell anyone?" Samuel looked uncomfortable. Who would take an old janitor seriously? The principal stared at him for several seconds. Then she said something unexpected. "We need substitute teachers next month." Samuel immediately shook his head. No, I can't." "Yes, you can." Fear filled Samuel's face. For 15 years, he had studied alone in empty classrooms. But teaching real students felt terrifying. "What if they laugh at me?" Principal Collins smiled gently. "Then prove them wrong." The following Monday, a history teacher unexpectedly became ill. No substitute arrived. Students grew noisy inside the classroom while waiting. Then suddenly, the door opened, and Mr. Carter walked inside carrying books. The entire class burst into laughter instantly. The janitor. This has to be a joke. Did he bring a mop? Samuel's hands trembled slightly. For a moment, he considered walking away. Then he remembered all the nights spent studying alone. All the years of sacrifice. Slowly, he placed the books onto the desk and began teaching. Within 10 minutes, the classroom became silent. Students listened carefully. Samuel explained history like stories coming alive. Wars, leaders, human struggles. Everything felt real and emotional. For the first time in months, students paid complete attention during class. By the end of the lesson, nobody laughed anymore. The next day, students actually requested another class with Mr. Carter. Word spread quickly across the school. The janitor is smarter than half the teachers. Soon, more classes asked for him. Samuel slowly became beloved by students. Not because he was strict, but because he truly cared. He stayed after school helping struggling students. He encouraged shy teenagers. He listened without judgment. For many students, Mr. Carter became the first adult who genuinely believed in them. One student named Maya struggled badly with depression and failing grades. Most teachers assumed she was lazy. But Samuel noticed something deeper. One evening, he sat beside her quietly after class. "You're carrying pain," he said gently. Maya immediately burst into tears. Nobody had noticed before. For over an hour, Samuel listened while she explained her problems at home. From that day onward, he helped her study daily. Months later, Maya became one of the school's top students. "You saved my life," she once told him quietly. Samuel smiled softly. "No," he replied. "You saved yourself. I only reminded you of your value." Meanwhile, local newspapers became interested in the unusual story. The janitor who became a teacher. Interviews spread online rapidly. Millions watched Samuel's story. People everywhere felt inspired by his perseverance. One video showing him teaching emotional literature lessons gained enormous attention online. Comments flooded in. "This made me cry." "Never judge people by their job." "This man deserves respect." Former classmates who once ignored Samuel years earlier suddenly contacted him again. Some apologized for forgetting him. Others admitted they never imagined he still carried such dreams inside him. But Samuel remained humble. One snowy evening, Ethan asked him something important. "After everything life took from you, Do you regret anything? Samuel looked out the classroom window quietly. Snowflakes drifted through the dark sky. Then he answered softly, "Yes." Ethan waited silently. "I regret believing my dream had an expiration date." That sentence changed Ethan forever. Years later, Ethan would repeat those words during his own university speeches. Months passed. Samuel officially became a full-time teacher at Lincoln High School. Students celebrated wildly when the announcement came. But the biggest surprise arrived 1 year later. Principal Collins retired unexpectedly due to health issues. The school board searched desperately for someone who truly understood students and cared deeply about education. Teachers suggested many names, but students kept repeating only one: Mr. Carter. At first, the board laughed at the idea. A former janitor as principal. Impossible. But after reviewing his work, interviews, and impact on the school, their opinions changed completely. On a warm spring morning, the entire school gathered in the auditorium. Students whispered curiously while teachers smiled secretly. Then the school board chairman stepped onto the stage. "We are proud to announce the new principal of Lincoln High School." The room became silent. Mr. Samuel Carter. For 1 second, nobody moved. Then the entire auditorium exploded into applause. Students stood cheering loudly. Some teachers cried openly. Ethan smiled proudly from the front row. Samuel himself looked completely stunned. As he walked slowly toward the stage, memories flooded his mind. Cleaning empty hallways. Being mocked. Studying alone at night. Dreaming silently while nobody believed in him. And now, the janitor nobody respected had become the principal of the same school. When Samuel finally reached the microphone, tears filled his eyes. For several seconds, he could not speak. Then softly, he said, "Never allow the world to convince you that your dream is too late." The auditorium became silent again. Samuel continued, "People may underestimate you. Life may delay you. Struggles may exhaust you." He looked across the students carefully. "But your future can still change, as long as you refuse to stop learning." Many students cried listening to him, because deep inside, they knew his words were true. Years later, Lincoln High School became one of the best schools in the state. Student success rates improved dramatically. Dropout rates fell. Scholarship opportunities increased. And at the entrance of the school, a small plaque was eventually placed near the hallway Samuel once cleaned every night. It read, "Dreams do not expire." Students passed that plaque daily. Most touched it for good luck before exams. But for those who truly knew Samuel Carter's story, it meant something much deeper. It meant that even ordinary people can carry extraordinary strength inside them. And sometimes, the person everyone overlooks is secretly fighting the biggest battle of all.